Hello. It's Howo. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi. Hang on. What is going on with my Vroid? Why is it... Oh, shoot. Hang on. No, I need to... Wait. Ah, this is immediately scuffed. There we go. Okay, okay. Hi. Hi, Pie. Hello. Okay, so, yeah. Hi, everyone. Hello. So, a couple announcements to make before I get into the game. Announcement number 1, related to the game, we're actually very close to the end. I think. I feel like we're very close to the end. I actually don't know for certain. Or at least one of the endings. Announcement number 2, also related to the game. On the Steam Summer Sale, this game, Heart of the Woods, is on sale for 50% off. That's a pretty good deal. I've been keeping track of Heart of the Woods for a while, and it does not like to go on sale often. So, buy Heart of the Woods now. It's like $8 or something. It's worth it. It will make you cry. So, yeah, announcement number 3, you lost the game? Well, skill issue, Pie. Let's see. Next announcement, also kind of related to the game. Also on, also due to the Steam Summer Sale, I bought the Studio Elan. I think that's the name of the studio that made Heart of the Woods. I bought the Studio Elan Yuri pack, which came with like 3 other games. I don't know if I'm gonna stream them or just play them by myself. I've learned my lesson with Heart of the Woods. I'm gonna look up beforehand if there are any not safe for work scenes. But if there aren't, or at least if they're not too spicy, I might just stream them. So yeah, that's all those announcements. Other announcement, as a reminder, we announced this last time, on Sunday at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be hosting the Vtubers Summer Slam with Pi and Minra. We're gonna be here on my channel playing Super Mario Party 3. I've never played a Super Mario Party game in my entire life, and this one's gonna have crowd control on. And, yeah, Pi and me and Minra are probably gonna stop being friends after it. /J. But yeah, no, I'm excited for that. Other things. Oh, one other big announcement. As of today, or rather, today, because with the help of Pi and Minra herself, I have ordered a new monitor. So in like maybe about a week, maybe a little bit over a week, I'm gonna join the 2 monitor gang, and this monitor is gonna actually be 1440p. I don't know if it's gonna affect my streams at all, but it will at the very least improve the quality of my visuals. And as far as I know, like, I cannot conceive visuals being better than the 1080 I've been using for the longest time, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, that will that will affect my stream setup somewhat. I don't know if it'll affect it too much on your end, but on my end, it will absolutely improve my stream setup, so I'll actually be able to look at OBS. I'll be able to play games full screen and still be able to see chat, which also opens up a whole lot more games that I've been wanting to play, but they don't seem to want to run in anything but full screen. I'll be able to see my own model, which will be a huge difference, at least for me. And then, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be cool. Look forward to it. I will keep y'all updated on when that's happening. Anyway, with all that said, I think I can't wait any longer. I have to get back into the game. Because, oh my god, Heart of the Woods. I've been thinking of this game pretty much nonstop since my last stream of it yesterday. I love this game so much. It's got a great story. Just everything about Heart of the Woods I adore. I love this game. It's amazing. Yeah, I think we're getting very close to the end. So, brief summary. The summaries are getting longer because more of the game is getting played. So, brief recap. Main characters: Maddie, this girl here on the right, and her friend Tara, who's not pictured, came to this little village called Eisenfeld because Morgan, who is also not pictured, is an eccentric little girl in this village Eisenfeld who invited Maddie and Tara to her village to investigate paranormal stuff because Tara and Maddie have their YouTube channel, Paranormal, where they investigate paranormal stuff. Maddie has announced that she is leaving the show, which kind of upset Tara a bit. So they had a little bit of a fight and stopped being as good friends. And then Abigail, over here, pictured here on the left, kind of comes into the scene where it's like, oh my god, a ghost girl, but Maddie falls in love with the ghost girl but can't interact with the ghost girl, but they do their best to anyway. And then Evelyn, who is Morgan's mom, comes out of nowhere and just kills Maddie. Like, not even holding anything back, just straight up murders her. Abigail, at least, manages to rescue Maddie and make her a ghost, so she doesn't go into the afterlife. But Maddie's kind of struggling with her mortality and understanding that she is now a ghost. She can't seem to fully accept that she's now a ghost. She keeps thinking about wanting to, like, come back to life. And Abigail doesn't really know how to tell her that that's not gonna happen. Abigail, by the way, has been dead for 200 years, so she's kind of used to it. Meanwhile, Tara and Morgan are dating, or, like, not dating. They haven't explicitly said that they're dating yet, but they're very close to dating, and they have indeed confirmed that they are in love with each other. In an attempt to, like, okay, so, here. We've made two major decisions so far in this game, because we finally got to the part where we're allowed to start making decisions, and they're apparently big ones. The first decision that we made was when Tara was recording kind of a recap for everyone she kind of broke down crying when she started thinking about Maddie. Because as far as Morgan and Tara know, Maddie's probably dead. They haven't found her body yet, but she's probably very dead. So Tara kind of broke down, and the decision that we made was to let her grieve and process the fact that her friend is probably dead. I don't know if it directly affected the outcome of this, but it essentially seemed that decision kind of seems to have led Morgan to come to the conclusion that she should sacrifice herself to her mom, Evelyn, when Evelyn tries to take her over. That led to the second decision that we had to make, which happened when Evelyn took Morgan out into the woods, did a ritual using Morgan's blood to kill the forest spirit. The forest spirit is dead. Evelyn killed the forest spirit using Morgan's blood, and Morgan was traumatized by it. Like, it... Through all of the hell that Evelyn has put Morgan through, that may have been the most traumatizing thing Morgan's ever been through. So that led to our decision number 2, which is she's gonna pay for that. We're gonna make her pay for that. So Morgan's very convicted now that she is going to commit payback against Evelyn. So that about catches everyone up on everything. Let's get back into the story. Yeah, here's the 2 saves we made at the decisions, because we'll probably go back at some point and choose the other routes, because I want to see the different endings to this game. So, switching back to Maddie. Let me take a drink first. It's been a weird morning. Usually when I get up, Abigail's awake and ready to go, and usually she has been for several hours. This morning, though, I woke to finding her dozing nearby, long past when she'd normally be up. She complained about having a headache, so we decided to take a walk through the forest to clear her head. So far, it seems to have had the opposite effect, though, and we've been walking in uncomfortable silence. It's been maybe an hour or so when we first noticed the buzzing. At first, it was very faint, like the sound of the wind or the rustling trees. Then it started to get louder and louder.
Fairies!
It's the first word she's said in ages. She pulls me closer to her as the buzzing gets closer. Sure enough, the source of the noise soon comes into view. Dozens of fairies, maybe even as many as 100, flutter past overhead. They form a cloud rushing through the forest, nimbly weaving over and under the branches. When I first saw fairies back in the clearing, their movements were graceful and delicate, but now they're frantic and urgent. The swarm travels right toward us, though they don't seem to notice or care about us at all. The buzzing has grown to an almost ear-splitting level, and I realize it's coming from their wings. Like bees, their tiny little wings beat rapidly to keep them up. They're a blur against the fairies' snow-looking bodies. Suddenly, several of the fairies split off from the rest and dive towards us. I fling up my hands to protect myself, but they come to a halt overhead. This is my first chance to get a look at them. Their bodies are smooth and pale blue with a whitish tinge. Their eyes are beady and small, looking more like tiny flecks of obsidian than anything with sight. At first, it looks like they're wearing gowns, but then I realized that what looks like clothes are part of their body. Colorful plumage helps make each fairy distinct from one another. Rather than legs, their bodies taper off into a point, like little ballerinas. Like snowflakes, no two look the same. One of them turns a somersault while the others hover anxiously.
Our queen! Is that you? Have you returned?
Their voices are all identical, squeaky and raspy, yet impressively loud despite their tiny size. It takes a second for me to realize that they're addressing me.
I'm sorry. I'm not your queen. I'm just an ordinary human.
A human? Ordinary? Don't think so.
They crowd in a little bit closer, their fingers grabbing the empty air as if to pick me up and carry me away. I take a step backwards, with Abigail still holding tight to my arm, but the fairies just creeping even closer. Their wings beat hummingbird fast, distractingly loud.
I promise, I'm just a regular person. You're mistaken if you think I'm your queen.
A mistake? Have you seen her? We've been looking.
We haven't seen her. We haven't seen anything like her.
I have no idea what a fairy queen looks like, but I'm sure I haven't seen anything that fits the description.
How long has she been missing?
It's hard to say. Did you know? Time is a human concept.
Their answers aren't helpful at all. They at least understood my question, which means they have some knowledge of time. It doesn't make a difference, though. The rest of their swarm has moved on, the buzzing fading once again, but they don't seem bothered.
If we see her, I'll be sure to tell her you're looking.
That won't be needed. She surely knows. That's why she's our queen.
The fairies' peculiar way of speaking, in turn, is almost comical. Since they haven't left us alone yet, I assume that they're still expecting or hoping for something. I'm a little afraid to find out what.
Do the three of you have names?
We don't. We have no need.
Your fairy queen has green hair, puppy ears, nerdy glasses, wears a pink cardigan, white shirt, and a blue... Hi! You're describing me. Am I... Wait. But... Hi. Wait. But that's me. Am I really your fairy queen? I mean, I don't dislike being called a fairy queen.
Names are for humans, too.
They all nod in unison. Given how everything else about them seems to be insect-like, I just assume that they have a hive mind of sorts. It would fit with everything else I know about the forest. Haru.exe has stopped working, maybe. I'm getting a bit tired of all the different networks and connections. It's silly, but it feels a little like not knowing the password to a friend's Wi-Fi. To help them straighten my mind, to help keep them straight in my mind. Ah, there we go. I give each of them a name. The one with the purple flower is Hay. Anon has the blonde hair, and the last one is Frio. Yeah, don't straight wash them, Maddie. Let's not straight wash them. Beside me, Abigail tugs at my sleeve surreptitiously. She's angled away from the conversation, trying to lead me out of it. I turn back to the fairies, putting on my best customer service voice.
We have to go now. It was nice to meet you. I hope you're able to find your queen soon.
I don't want to turn my back on them, so I wait for them to say their farewells and leave. But instead, they come in even closer, causing Abigail to gasp.
Don't go! What if you stayed? You could be our queen. You would do. We could make it so. It would be easy.
Listen, if I was in this situation, I would just say yes. Like, I would like to be a fairy queen. It sounds so. It sounds lovely. Alarm bells ringing in my head. I start to step backwards, with Abigail keeping right on me. Listen, Maddie, those might be red flags, but they're the good kind of red flags. The good kind.
There isn't anyone else. Not everyone is suitable. But you are. Let us show you what it'd be like. We can give you a taste. Would that be all right?
Their buzzing and flittering slows as 3 pairs of eyes stare at us. Abigail squeezes my arm. I move my mouth to say no, but the way their gaze pierces into me roots me to the spot. Little tiny dancers adorned with glitter, their skin shimmers in the low light filtering through the clouds.
Medicine. Come on, let's go.
But I can't. Or rather, I don't want to. Not yet.
What if I know something useful, Abigail?
We know lots of things. Secret things, clever things. We can know you, too.
They're pests. Their buzzing is a little too loud and their voices are a little too shrill, but...
You don't belong here. We can tell. But wouldn't you like to belong?
They creep a little bit closer in a synchronized motion. They're close enough now that I could reach out and grab one if I wanted to. Or slap them away. I don't, though. A place to belong. Could they really offer that?
What exactly do you mean?
I can feel Abigail's grip tighten around my coat, but she doesn't say anything. Sensing an opening, the fairies circle dizzyingly around our heads.
The forest doesn't reject you. But it doesn't accept you either. We could change that, though. Whatever it is you want! Whatever you're searching for, if you help us. Wouldn't you like that?
With a jolt, I turn to face Abigail. I'm sure she knows what I'm thinking. Whatever I want, there's only one thing. Freedom. Abigail stares back at me for a moment and then presses herself against me. Looking up at the fairies, I nod.
Okay, just a taste.
Excited, they dive downwards until they're level with my face. Abigail cringes, but doesn't let go. As one, the fairies close in, placing their hands on my face like they're checking my temperature. Their hands are frigid, painfully so. It's amplified by the fact I haven't felt cold in days. My hands jerk upwards out of instinct, ready to pry them away, but I don't. Then one of the fairies moves their hands to cover my lips. One covers my eyes, and the other covers my ears. For a split second, I feel like I'm falling through the air.
All I see is black. I'm alone. And yet, hundreds of presences flood my consciousness all at once. I can tell they're the fairies, but I don't know how I can tell. I'm bombarded by their awareness like tiny darts, not using words or thoughts or intentions, but just feeling. They're somehow distant, as if behind a wall, but so present. I try to find the semi-familiar presences of Hey, Frio, and Anon, but they're indistinguishable from the rest. There's no individuality, no sense of identity at all. They're just the fairies as a whole.
Alright, and we've hit an ad break, so I'm just gonna hang about until that's done. But you know what? Like, I really have no idea why I feel just so fixated on the idea, but like, I kind of like the sound of being a fairy queen. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny, because, like, Ari actually kind of thinks of me as a queen in some ways. Sometimes princess, sometimes queen, but generally, like, she's called me her queen a few times. And I'm just like, wouldn't it be something if I kind of was? I don't know, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's something I could incorporate into Haru lore. Who knows? But, yeah, just, oh my gosh. Now, I do have to say, like, here's the thing. How I would love for this to go, story-wise, is that Maddie ends up being the queen of the fairies. And she and Abigail just get to spend the rest of eternity together. I would love that. Maybe not for Maddie, although, like, the thing with Maddie is she's so fixated on, like, the past, or rather, like, her previous life when she was alive. And part of that, Haru is the queen of being hopelessly gay. Okay, Pi, maybe a little bit. But because of that, like, I think she's so fixated on it because she doesn't feel like she has much of a purpose in her current situation. Becoming a fairy queen would give her more of a sense of purpose, I think. So, I don't know. Just like, yeah. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. And welcome back from ads. Okay, I think I did see I kind of clicked through... There we go. For a split second, I feel like I'm falling through the air, and then it all hits me. And then, ads started about halfway through this paragraph, so I'm just gonna finish that. They're somehow distant, as if behind a wall, but so present. I try to find the semi-familiar presences of Hey, Frio, and Anon. They're indistinguishable from the rest. There's no individuality, no sense of identity at all. They're just the fairies as a whole.
But I can feel what they're feeling. Panic and anger and hurt all churned together. The feeling of being lost. Of not knowing where to go or what to do, but not being able to sit still. Though I can't tie it to any particular memory or event, the feeling hits me so strongly. So undiluted that I think I might cry. I can feel that they've been scared by something, but I don't know what that something is. Then, at last, I feel a nudge within my mind. The sensation of being noticed. The presence takes me in, welcoming me. It occurs to me that I no longer exist. I try to ask what's going on, but I don't need to. The moment the question forms, the presence with me starts to answer. Images play in my head, ones I've never seen before. They're grainy, like an old film. If I try to focus on a particular detail, the whole thing becomes muddy.
Okay, I also didn't. Yeah, okay, I didn't click. I'm good.
I can see flames burning away at the forest. The fire is so real that I can almost feel its warmth. But when I start to focus on it, that too vanishes. The presence of the fairies weighs on my mind, an uninvited audience to the next part. I can see a fairy, stumbling alone, but something's wrong with it. I realize instantly, I can't feel its presence. Where it should be, there's just a gaping hole, so vast and profound that it hurts by sheer exclusion. It's agonizing. I want to tear my heart out of my chest so I don't have to feel it anymore. The presence of the fairies, the whole nest, tries to reach out after it and fill the hole, but it won't allow itself to be touched. The moonlight overhead, which I crave, falls onto the lone fairy who hastens to escape it. The lone fairy flees, and the rest of them, the rest of us mourn. One word pulses through my head, both a condemnation and reassurance. One word, though I don't know what it means. Moonsick, 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 moonsick. The vision twists, and I can see a woman. But she isn't a woman. She's also a fairy, but not just. I'm so happy and relieved to see her that I just know she's the fairy queen. I can feel how much she misses the lone fairy. I know, because I miss her too. Desperately. I can see her searching, her hope never fading, until one day, she's gone. The loss is even greater this time. A sick mixture of guilt and shame plagues me, because I don't know where she is. I don't even know how long she's been missing. How could I have not noticed? The loneliness is so great that I want to do anything to erase it. Another silhouette flickers, just out of sight, but I can't keep track of it. We all have to watch it together, and then I realize it's me. But just like the fairy queen I saw before, it's also not me. Visions of time pass, months, years, centuries, and throughout all of them, all of the loneliness is gone. It all feels right. I could fix this.
The fairies remove their hands from me, and I burst back into the real world with a mighty gasp for air.
Madison, are you alright?
The fairies dart back up, away from the furious glare that Abigail gives them. All I can feel now is her hand clutching me, and I put my arm on her shoulder for support. My head spins, and for a second, I think I might fall over. The dizzy spell passes soon. Once I'm confident I'm not going to collapse, I nod.
I'm fine. How long was I out?
Abigail's face flickers into a look of confusion. She presses her hand to my forehead.
Out? I didn't think they'd even begun.
What?
I watched the fairies, struggling to comprehend how so much could have happened in an instant like that. There's no way.
We told you, didn't we? We aren't bound by time. Join us and you won't be either. Now that you've seen, and now that you've felt, Will you join us?
Eyes wide, Abigail looks up at me. She doesn't have to say anything for me to know she's begging me to decline. I wish she could have felt how warm it was, how nice it was to belong like that. Yet, at the same time, it feels like a distant dream now. Something detached and fading. I tried to remember the sensation, but I can't. It's water slipping through my fingers. It seemed so real, but it wasn't. It was only a second. I can't sing my life away to the fairies for 1 second of visions. I can't sign my life away to the fairies for 1 second of visions, no matter how right it felt, no matter how comfortable. I'm sure that I was just seeing what they wanted me to see. I smile at Abigail, and then shake my head, rejecting the fairies.
I'm sorry, but I can't. Thank you for showing me what it would be like, though.
How can we persuade you? We need our queen soon. You could be our only hope.
I know you do. But I'm sorry. That just can't be me.
We hope you'll change your mind. We'll be waiting for you. We'll be waiting for a queen.
With that, they turn tail and dart off in the same direction that their swarm had gone. Soon, all trace of them is gone, like they'd never even been there.
Madison, are you sure you're all right?
Yeah, it's kind of a missed opportunity. Like, I don't know. I kind of understand the hesitation. Only because like the separation between fairy and human is kind of so vast in a way. Like Madison's very brief experience basically taught her how disconnected fairies are from like our version of reality. And purely for selfish reasons, that being me wanting Maddie and Abigail to be together, I can totally see turning down the opportunity to be Fairy Queen just so that they can still be together. I don't think that's the reason Madison made that decision, but like, that's my headcanon right there.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was just a lot. Was that really that fast?
Yes. They touched your face and then a moment later you gasped.
That's insane. It felt like a long time. Like years had passed.
Abigail looks troubled again, staring off into the forest where the fairies disappeared.
Fairy magic is strange and beyond me. They're similar to the forest spirit, and yet...
Different, but in a way you can't put into words.
That's right. You certainly did see a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Have you ever met their queen? Or seen what she looks like?
Just once, long ago. She and the forest spirit are both guardians of the forest. Did you see her in your vision?
I think back to what I saw, as best as I can remember. The image shifts and shakes in my head, not wanting to be called to mind. More than what she looked like, I just remember how I felt. So happy and relieved to see her.
I did, but I didn't get a clear look at her. I knew who she was, but I don't know if I'd recognize her if I passed her on the street. Do you think you could mistake me for her, like they did?
Absolutely not. You're much prettier than she is.
Abigail says it very matter-of-factly, as if she didn't just give me an enormous compliment. And she carries on like it too. Be still, my beating heart.
But to the fairies, I expect it's hard for them to tell the difference between humans. So maybe you looked like her to them.
To have a girl call me prettier than a fairy queen.
I wonder how long the queen's been gone. It seems like they'd been coping just fine without her, until something happened to scare them.
Something like what?
Something hot and bright. Something burning. Something that hurt to think about.
I don't know. I think it had to do with fire, maybe? So much of what I saw felt real, but most of it wasn't.
Fire.
Worry creases her face.
What's wrong? Did you remember something?
No. It was just a thought.
Rather than elaborate, she fidgets with her hands. I don't push the subject.
Maybe that's enough fresh air for today. We can head back to the church.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I detect a hint of relief in her voice. For the first time, I lead the way home. At least, I hope it's the way. I'm reasonably confident. At my side, Abigail remains quiet and lost in her thoughts. With one hand, she clings limply to my sleeve, trusting my navigation. I don't disturb her. Instead, concentrating on remembering the path, it's to challenge myself. I'm sure that if necessary, Abigail would be able to lead us home from anywhere. Still, I'm beginning to fear that I've led us astray when the grim walls of the church start to come into view. A mixture of relief and pride flows through me. It's also a little bittersweet. I've come to think of the church as home, even though I've never felt that way about the cabin. Despite the fact that the concept of home is just a formality now, surrounding ourselves with walls and a roof doesn't change a whole lot. Clouds are beginning to settle overhead, muting the daylight and making everything murky. It feels fitting for the mood. Abigail speeds up a bit as we reach the doors, and she's the first one inside. She sits down on one of the benches, fatigued.
Mind if I join you?
I gesture at the open spot beside her.
Please do.
Wordlessly, she rests her head against my shoulder.
Headache still?
She nods.
I'm afraid so. Our encounter there sure didn't help.
I'm sure.
They gave me a headache of sorts too. More of a notion that I can't get out of my head. The fairy's outstanding offer sits with me. As hard as I try, I can't fully push the idea away. If there isn't any other way out of this, then maybe being a fairy queen would be preferable to just being a normal ghost. As long as I could still have Abigail with me. Okay, there we go. Now we know her priorities are in order. Like, I understand, like, 'cause If she could have Abigail and be the Fairy Queen, that would be the best case scenario. That's a last resort though, because for as long as I can, I have to hold out hope that things can just go back to normal, that Terra and I can leave Eisenfeld the same way we arrived, and that we can take Abigail with us. Beside me, Abigail shifts her head just a little.
I'm sorry. Am I bothering you like this?
Not at all.
I wonder if she's close enough to hear my heart beating. Maybe it can't always be like this, but just for now, it's alright. Although it's been a couple of days since we met the fairies and they made their offer, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. The visions themselves are just slush by now, with the memories of them having eroded into non-existence. But the feelings remain. The feeling of belonging and of freedom. There's something else I can't get out of my head though, and she's sitting right beside me.
Madison, here they come.
Sure enough, a mother deer and her fawn come traipsing out of the bushes, no doubt on their way to get a drink. Starlight and the waxing moon make them look like ghosts at first, barely visible in the dusk. Upon entering the clearing, yawn. Upon entering the clearing, they see us, and both freeze. Abigail smiles encouragingly, reaching out a hand towards them. After a moment's hesitation, the fawn takes one tentative step towards us, then another, and another.
This one's name is Alma.
Hello, Alma.
I greet it the same way I would greet my friend's dog or cat. Deciding we're not a threat, the mother deer goes to the pond while the baby one creeps even closer. Abigail never moves towards it, never pushing too far. Then it nuzzles her hand, leaning into the soft scratching motion of her fingers.
Is this the deer that was watching you sing the other day?
Most likely. Alma's a little bit shy and sometimes prefers to keep her space.
You know this deer pretty well, huh?
Of course, we're very good friends.
To demonstrate, she strokes Alma's tawny neck. She doesn't even have to sit up to do so, since the fawn's face is just about level with her shoulders from where we were sitting on the ground. Alma closes her eyes, clearly enjoying the attention.
Would you like to pet her? I'm certain she'd let you.
Sure.
I lean forward, my hand outstretched like Abigail's was. But the second I move, Alma's eyes go wide and she bounds away into the darkness. Her mother watches, alarmed, from the shoreline.
Guess not.
Alma, come back. I promise Madison won't hurt you. She's just as sweet as you are.
I'm glad for the darkness, and that she can't see my blush. While she's not looking, I scoot a little bit closer to Abigail. Just a bit. The hanging fairy baubles help to illuminate the young deer, who watches from a safe distance. None of the fairies themselves seem to be around, though. Yawn. It takes a bit with Abigail and I both sitting silently, but the fawn chooses to come back after all. Her steps are still reluctant and ready to dart away at any second. She lets Abigail pet her, but watches me warily while it happens. I don't mind. I'm content to just watch and enjoy seeing how happy it makes them both.
How long have you known Alma? It must have been a while for her to trust you like this.
Oh yes, I've known her for her whole life. And I've known her mother since she was small too.
Abigail waves at the mother deer by the pond, who's returned to sating her thirst.
That's amazing.
I can only imagine the patience, time, and dedication it must have taken to earn the trust of the woodland creatures. Still, all things considered, I'm not surprised that they'd make an exception for someone like Abigail. She exudes comfort. I'm not sure how else to describe it, and I've certainly never felt anything like it before. Maybe being close to her is just as comforting for the deer as it is for me.
Do you have any other animal friends that I'll get to meet?
Oh, certainly, if you'd like. I'm sure Mr. Bearer is asleep for the season, but perhaps once he wakes up. There are also a pack of wolves around, but for Alma's sake, that would be best left to another time.
The deer nuzzles her hand in agreement, and Abigail coos contentedly at it.
None are quite so friendly as Alma and the rest of the deer, though. When I was a child, I wanted to have a deer for a pet. I thought that perhaps I could learn to ride one, like a horse. My sister and I would look for footprints in the snow and track them for as long as we could.
She looks up at me, smiling despite the melancholy tone her voice has taken on.
We never got very far, of course. Hardly a few feet into the forest. But to children like us, it was quite an adventure.
You must miss her a lot.
Abigail hardly ever mentions her family. I imagine that despite how long it's been, their memories must still be painful. She smiles thinly.
In a sense.
The deer is luxuriating under her caress. Her hand moves rhythmically and gently, alternating between petting and scratching Alma's neck. She relaxes a little, resting against my side, but continuing to pet the deer. Yawn.
More than anything, I think I miss the days of wonder and awe, back when the forest and all of its creatures were still a mystery. Sometimes I wish it could be like that again, that it could be unknown.
You wish that you hadn't met them?
No, not at all. At least, not given the circumstances. I'm quite grateful for the companionship they've given me. For so many years, they've been one of the few sources of company that I've had. But while my love for them has never diminished, I've come to the conclusion that it's grown to the most it can grow as well. That's simply what the world had become for me. A small world of gnomes, and nothing more.
She looks away from the deer and back at me. A few tears spot her face, but she doesn't look sad. In fact, she's beaming.
And then I met you, Madison.
Moonlight frames her face. The lovely night sky, the fairy tale friendly deer, the ethereal woman. It's an image straight out of a painting.
You were my first unknown in countless years. The first soul I could speak with that I didn't yet understand. And what a wonderful unknown you turned out to be.
I'm frozen again. I've never had anyone say anything that sweet to me. How am I supposed to respond to something like that? I try to calm my heart as it hammers in my chest. Looking at her soft expression only serves to accelerate its rhythm. She flusters just like me.
Thank you. That's really, really sweet. I think you're wonderful too.
Her free hand darts out to grab mine before I have a chance to react as her eyes widen even more, nearly startling the deer away.
Do
I really do. You're an incredible person. I can't imagine having to go through what you've been through without losing any sort of capacity for joy. But here you are, still so full of energy and positivity. I hope that I can maintain that sort of optimism.
Aww. Abigail lets go of the deer and flings her arms around me in a tight hug. It's a pretty awkward position because of how we're sitting together, but I don't mind. I hug her back as best I can, my only anchor in the storm of chaos that my life has become. Indignant, Almond almost slicks her ears back and darts off towards the trees again. Without letting me go, Abigail cranes her neck to watch, this time not calling the deer back. Alma's mother bounds over to join her daughter, and they both go careening off. I lean my head down to rest against Abigail's in what's become a familiar position. When did we get so comfortable with each other? Being like this just feels natural. She parts from me after a moment, sitting up straight again. She tilts her head to look up at the stars, and I gaze with her. The night is mostly clear, except for a few wispy clouds. All is still and quiet and calm. Even the pains of the forest don't seem to reach us here.
I wouldn't call myself an optimist.
I blink, surprised by her sudden words.
I don't, nor have I ever really had much hope. There are small comforts and delights, but those aren't the same thing as hope. I can remember names and faces, and even dreams and aspirations that I once had. But do you know what the most curious part of it is?
She glances at me, and I notice tears in her eyes. Without thinking, I reach up and brush them away. No reaction. My heart pounding in my chest, nervous about something that I can't identify. Or that maybe I'm unwilling to accept, afraid to be wrong about.
What is it?
I can't remember how it felt for those dreams to be within reach. Even with my meager, lonely existence, there was still a chance. As unlikely as it would have been, there was always a possibility that someday something would change. Something might happen.
Ryoko's giving me a treat. Okay, treat time. Let me help myself to another peanut butter cookie. Yay! Peanut butter cookies are so good. Nom, 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 nom. That was delicious. Thank you so much, Ryoko. Okay.
There was a light, so to speak, to look forward to. And the day that I died, that light went out.
More tears, replacing the ones that I wiped away, sparkle in her eyes. I move to repeat the motion from before, but this time she stops my hands, holding them in her own between us.
I never gave thought to what this unlife might be keeping me from. Not from the life I left behind, but whatever it is I would have been met with had I lived to the end of my days. For a long time, I considered myself lucky that I was free from hurt and pain and worry and loss. Even if they were predictable and boring, my years here in the forest haven't been unpleasant. But I've never been optimistic. I've never had anything to look forward to. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine meeting someone as perfect as you. Never did I imagine that I would be happy again.
I understand. I know what she's saying, and more importantly, what she means. A shiver runs down my spine.
But Madison, I don't deserve this happiness. Not at the cost of your own. I keep thinking how if I'd been a bit faster, or more decisive, perhaps I could have saved you that day in the snow. And that even if not, I don't know what future I've stolen from you. I don't know what awaits those of us who pass on. All I know is this unlife and its permanence, and the way that you deserved better.
She's crying now, fully. Her chest heaves into a sob, and I pull her closer to me in as tight a hug as I can manage. As kindly and delicately as I can, as gently as she always treats me, I hold her and sway gently, as much as our position will allow. I can tell, just from the way she cries, that she's been holding this in for a long, long time. I let her let it all out. It must have hurt so bad to be feeling this way. I speak in a whisper. Oh my god, Okay, this is very close to the cover art. It's not exactly, but it's very close to it. And it's adorable.
It's not your fault at all. Don't ever blame yourself for any of this. I know I don't. Ever since we met, that day in the forest clearing, all you've done is made things better for me. I don't know if I ever told you this, but during those first days after we met, seeing you again was all that I would look forward to. I'd go to bed thinking about you, and wake up the next morning thinking about you.
That's pretty gay, Maddie. And it's adorable and relatable.
And as for everything else, to be honest, I don't know how to feel about a lot of it. So much of it is just hard to process. I thought that it would get easier with time, but it hasn't. But there is one thing I know. One thing that I'm absolutely sure of.
I squeeze her hands, and I see her startle. Just a bit. No matter what I'm missing out on, I'm sure I'd rather be here with you. I mean it. Every word of it. I've never really put too much thought into an afterlife, or anything like that. But any time spent here with Abigail is time well spent. And if that means eternity, then, well, so be it. Beside me, Abigail gazes into my eyes wondrously. Her lips move as she searches for the words she wants to say.
Madison.
She shifts so that the starlight caresses her face, perfect and yet not nearly as luminous as she is.
May I kiss you?
Oh my god, you little heart. Oh my god. For once in my life, I don't overthink it.
Yes.
Her eyelids flutter and close. Her breathing trembles, then steadies. I empty my head of any other thoughts. Somehow this is, like... How... Oh, Pi, what's... What? Just... I... Some... Like... I... Like, somehow, like... Like... I, like, with, like, the, like, last part, when, Morgan and Tara had their love kiss, like, that was an emotional moment. It did not touch me nearly as much as this scene did. Oh my god. Abigail and Maddie kissed! They got to have a kiss. I'm so happy. Aww. And I press my lips to hers. So soft and so warm, as delicate as the fresh fallen snow, as sweet as cotton candy. Her form shivers against me, and I place an arm around her for support and for comfort, mutually. I can feel her getting more confident and more relaxed as 200 years of loneliness are melted away one by one, and we're left as just two souls sharing a first kiss under the night sky. It feels so right that after we've both been through so much sadness and loss, that we're now able to share this moment of joy. Not just share it, but be able to offer it to each other. Oh my gosh, hi Possum! Yeah, you're joining at a very gay moment. Oh my god. It's our light at the end of the tunnel. Don't stop. No, don't stop. Don't stop. Go back to kissing, please. Oh. When we finally part, my lips still feel electrified. She regards me with a coy expression, but a happy one.
That was even more wonderful than the many times I had imagined it.
Abigail's been imagining it?
I hope it was worth the wait.
Madison, how am I more broken than you are?
I'd wait another 200 years if it was the only way I'd get to kiss you again.
Oh my god, that's gay.
I promise. You won't have to.
Do it again. Oh, no, don't do a peck. To prove it, I lean forward and give her another quick peck on the lips. Don't peck her. You gotta, like, give her a deep kiss. One that lasts an eternity like that first one. Oh my god. That one really did last like an eternity, and I was so... Abigail leans against my side yet again. We've done this several times before, but it's never felt like this. It's never felt this right. I love you too, Pi. Everything feels a little bit brighter now. I feel it too. Our next day passes blissfully. We wander the forest, seeing all our favorite spots. The comfort of our new relationship makes the time we spend together even more joyful. Everything is prettier when I'm seeing it with Abigail beside me. Of course, as has become our tradition, we end up back at the mystical fairy grove. We settle into our favorite spots by the shore with the perfect view of the pond. As much as I love films, I've never been a big fan of romantic scenes. They always feel so forced. The soaring music, the obvious atmosphere, the cheesy dialogue, they're so divorced from real life that I just can't take them seriously. But here I am, watching the sunlight reflect off the shimmering water of the lake as the woman I love leans against me. The woman I love, oh my god. And I think that maybe those scenes weren't so unrealistic after all. Uh-oh. I think I got so gay that I broke my fidget toy. Hang on. Okay, it's working again. I may have squeezed my fidget toy a little too hard.
Madison.
What is it, sweetheart?
Sweet! Sweetheart! Sweetheart? I'm thinking that it was Maddie! I don't use pet names. It's not like me at all. But with her, it feels like it fits.
I know that I've said this before, and will probably say it many times in the future, but today and yesterday have been some of the happiest days of my life.
Mine too. And it's okay. I'll never get tired of hearing you say that.
She smiles at me, as soft as ever, but hidden in her expression and in her tone of voice, I can detect a tinge of sadness. I touch her face, rubbing my thumb across her cheek. She closes her eyes and leans into the motion.
Are you feeling okay?
Of course. Why wouldn't I be?
I don't know. You just looked a bit sad. Maybe it was my imagination.
I half expect her to deny it, but instead she nods.
You do know how to read me, don't you?
I do. What's wrong? You can tell me anything, I promise. Only if you want to talk about it, of course.
She pushes closer to me in response, resting her head against my chest.
This day is so lovely. I don't want to say anything that could spoil it.
You don't have to worry about that, Abigail. I love you, and that means I want to be here for you no matter what.
I love you. These two have to be together forever. Nothing's allowed to split them apart.
We're going to have plenty of wonderful evenings, I promise. And being open with each other is the best way to make sure they stay wonderful.
This is unlike me too. Usually on the first day of a relationship, I'm still a bumbling bag of nerves. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I move too fast or too slow? But it's different with Abigail. That fear isn't there. I can't quite explain why. I just feel like I haven't had to worry with her.
I was thinking about other happy days that I've had. How long it's been since then. And how the memories have since soured. How much have I told you about my sister?
Not much. You mentioned that the two of you were close, and that you spent a lot of time in the woods together, but that's it.
We weren't just close. Helena and I were inseparable. Whenever anything went wrong, she would always be there to protect me. She swore that that would never change. But fate had other plans for the two of us.
She trails off. Every other time she's mentioned her sister, it's only in passing. Her story last night about tracking deer is the only solid detail I have about her. At first, I expect her to stay quiet, like before. But instead, she keeps talking.
For as long as it's existed, Eisenfeld has had a curse, you could call it. A terrible monster who would destroy the village if given the chance. To appease its terrible rage, we would offer a sacrifice to it. Every generation, a new offering would be chosen. But it didn't just want flesh. The head priest would take the sacrifice into the forest to be offered to the horrible spirit. The sacrifice's soul and the head priest's body would both be consumed. Then, the new head priest would emerge, having taken the form of the poor sacrificed victim. It was a painful reminder of those we had lost. When I found out that it would be a member of my family who was to be taken and given over, I wasn't shocked. There was only one thing that I cared about. That it wouldn't be my beloved Helena who was harmed.
Her voice wavers before she falls silent. Before I can tell her that she's said enough, she speaks again. Each word shakes as it leaves her mouth.
I couldn't forget the joyous days of our childhood. I couldn't let such a kind soul suffer such a horrible fate. So, when the time came, I offered myself. I volunteered to die so that Helena could live. And in that very moment, when our fates were sealed, I looked at them, at Helena. And do you know what I saw?
Captivated by her tragic story, I can't even answer. I don't move my head or my lips.
Relief. Not once did she try to stop me or change my mind. Not that I would have let her, but I don't think she even thanked me. My parents cried, of course, but they didn't argue either. Neither of them stepped forward to take my place. No one did. While I'm sure my sacrifice was appreciated, I was quickly discarded without even a token effort or gesture of appreciation. My sister, who had sworn to always protect me, had no difficulty accepting the fact that I would die for her.
What? She just gave you away? Just like that?
If death looms over you for long enough, it corrupts everything. Even love.
It didn't corrupt you.
Perhaps. Though I believe that that's why I'm still here today.
What do you mean?
The first step of the ritual involves separating the sacrifice's body from its soul. From what she told me, as she did it, those poor victims usually try to resist, begging for someone else to be taken. And when their souls are ripped away, they're too damaged to carry on. I didn't resist. I went peacefully. And so the gentle forest spirit, who I'd been raised to believe was some kind of demon, eventually came and took me away. And I've been here ever since.
Her words carry a sense of finality, not knowing what else to do, and still stunned by her story. I simply lean closer to her and her pull in. I simply lean closer to her and her pull and pull her into an embrace. Jesus Christ, that needs to be fixed. Hello, Quincy. There aren't any words that could be enough. Physical comfort is all I can offer. To my surprise, though, when she finally pulls away from me, she looks happier than before. Just like I did, she touches my cheek gently and then leans in for a kiss.
Thank you for listening. I've told the one person who matters, and now I think I can heal.
I know, sweetheart. I love you. More than anything.
I just feel something every time I hear that, and like... I love the way Maddie just says sweetheart, just... Anyway, welcome to ad break. I'm gonna take this opportunity to use the little puppy's room, and then I will be right back. But don't go anywhere, because when ads are over, we will continue the story. Okay, I'm back, and also welcome back from ads. God. I love this romance. Like, a lot of Yuri that I've read or watched before has touched me. But, like, nothing's really touched so close to my heart as the relationship between Maddie and Abigail. And I want to, like, even more so than the time when I watched it many years ago, when I watched a playthrough of this, like, because I just think me playing it now makes me feel infinitely more involved in the story, and just, like, I love them for each other. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Tara and Morgan too, but there's just something so, like, touching about Maddie's relationship with Abigail. I don't know what it is.
I love you too. More than anything.
She sighs contentedly and leans against my shoulder. She takes my hand, intertwines her fingers with mine. Oh my gosh, hi Alpha! Thank you for all those biddies, oh my god! Wow. That was unexpected. Hi, how are you? How many is that? I want to count those up individually. Hang on. 1, 2, 6, 6, and that's 36 plus another. So 40 biddies. Oh my god, 40 biddies. Thank you so much. How are you doing, Alpha? We sit there for a long time. We don't say anything. We don't even move. All we do is watch the sky and feel each other's heartbeats. I wake up with a headache, and I know that something's wrong. Aw, you're so sweet. I'm alone. Abigail must have disentangled herself from my arms at some point, leaving me on my own. I get up and pace the church, not seeing her. After a bit, I find her outside its doors.
Good morning.
Good morning, my love.
My love. Her lips smile, but her eyes don't. It's a look I'm pretty familiar with by now. I slip an arm around her as I take a spot by her side.
Sleep okay?
Well enough. I'm sure all of my nights will be better now that they're spent beside you.
You know what I think it might be? Like, why I feel so much, like, why I feel so much stronger about Abigail's relationship with Maddie than I do about the Tara Morgan relationship is because I feel for Maddie in a lot of ways. Like, I feel I can kind of relate to her. And just, I feel a lot closer to her. Like, I feel I've grown closer to Maddie reading this story than I have to Tara. And Morgan, maybe I'm a little bit closer to than Tara, but I still don't feel quite as close to Tara as I do with Maddie. Like, that's just the way I've felt about it. And part of that might just be, like, the time that we spent with each other. Like, you know, we had a lot of time with Maddie before we even so much as, like, had a chance to look at Morgan's perspective. And since then, they've kind of been switching back and forth, so, like, I don't know. My heart's really set on Maddie as, like, kind of the central character in a way. That's just the way I feel. I can't help it. I kiss her on the cheek, and true joy brightens her face.
How about you?
Pretty good. I woke up with, like, a bad feeling, though.
A bad feeling? About what?
I'm not sure. My head kinda hurts, so maybe that's it? Actually, now that I think about it, this is the first actual pain I've felt since turning.
It's not the worst headache I've ever had. Not by far. But it's enough to be annoying. It feels the same as being dehydrated or having a slight cold.
Aw, poor dear.
She stands on her tiptoes to kiss my forehead. Ah, right-click accident.
I felt the same, actually. I had hoped that stepping outside might help, but it seems not.
She rubs her temples, and I notice just how ragged her eyes look.
How long have you been out here?
A while. Perhaps an hour or so. I was afraid I'd wake you.
Nah, I slept right through. It's not just a coincidence that we both feel sick, is it?
Abigail purses her lips. Her brief silence is enough confirmation.
No, I doubt it is. It must be something to do with the forest.
The trees before us sway in the breeze. To me, they look the same as ever. No traces of lingering sickness or pain.
You felt bad the other day, too. When we first met the fairies. Was it the same thing then?
Most likely. Changes in the air. Something's happening. And it isn't good.
I think of the fairies, fleeing some unseen terror.
Is it Evelyn?
I half expect her to shake her head. I want her to say no. But she nods.
I think so. I don't know what she's done or why. But this can't all be coincidence.
I nod, my thoughts turning to Tara and Morgan. I wish they would just get out of here. Leave me to my fate and escape. Let Evelyn do whatever it is she's doing while they're across the ocean, safe. I know that won't happen, though. Tara's not the type to back down from a fight. Except this time, I know she's hugely outmatched, even with Morgan's help.
What about the forest spirit? You said it's a guardian of the woods, right? Why doesn't it stop her?
I'm sure it's doing what it can, but it's just as intimately connected to the forest as the fairies are. Far more than you or I. So as the forest itself weakens, so does it.
Worry creases her brow.
Is there any way we can help?
Not that I know of.
I can tell she's not really happy with that answer.
Maybe we can think of something together. There has to be something we can do.
Yes, perhaps.
She looks up at me adoringly.
I feel like I can accomplish anything with you by my side.
Her loving words are nearly enough to counteract the worry that I feel.
We've already beaten death. There's no way Evelyn can stop us. At least not a second time.
First, we just have to figure out how. Abigail slips her hand into mine, where it fits comfortably.
Perhaps you'll make an optimist out of me yet, Medicine. Shall we go for a walk?
Absolutely.
I'm glad that our changing relationship hasn't changed our routine. The walks around the forest keep me grounded. They're enjoyable, but also a solemn reminder of how trapped we are here. My dream of finding a way out hasn't disappeared or diminished at all. It's just evolved to include Abigail too. There's no way I'm leaving these woods without her. We chat idly as we stroll, enjoying the newfound comfort and intimacy that comes from being lovers rather than just friends. The pain in my head is still there, and I'm sure Abigail still suffers from hers as well. But it's easy enough to ignore in lieu of the pleasure that simply being together brings. We've reached the edge of the fairy clearing, where we always seem to end up. Abigail is glued to my side. I wouldn't have it any other way.
We're probably a little bit early to meet Alma, although they sometimes come by at this time. This grove is one of the easier places for the animals to come drink during winter, so it attracts all kinds of wildlife.
Yeah, I've noticed all kinds of tracks in the snow leading around here.
She nods, pleased. But then we enter the grove itself, and my blood runs cold. Just ahead, lying prone on the frozen ground, is a fawn that I just know is Alma. It's clearly dying, if not already dead. With a shriek, Abigail drops my hand.
No!
I can feel her anguish cut through me like a knife, visceral and burning. Dashing over, hands outstretched, she falls to her knees and presses a tender hand against its snout. A small motion confirms that it's alive, if just barely. It leans into her, either in fear or in recognition, eyes wild.
No, what's happening to you?
I move closer as well, though not so close as to crowd them. And what I witness makes my stomach churn. Gaping wounds perforate the poor thing's body, staining the ground red with blood. They look like knife wounds or bite marks, but there's no visible damage or puncture. It's more like its body simply opened up. Abigail flails her hands, clearly wanting to help, but afraid to touch it and cause it more pain. She turns to me, teary-eyed.
Madison! What do I do?
I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I kneel down beside Abigail. The lacerations covering Alma's body are clean and even, but varying in size. Some are minute, so small as to be nearly invisible. The largest is a gash that runs the length of her torso.
How does this even happen?
Through choking sobs, Abigail manages to answer.
Magic! These are not normal injuries. It's the forest. The forest is sicker than I thought. And all of its children are hurting for it too.
So we get headaches while Alma gets this. I shudder. Is it random? Could it have just as easily been one of us lying here, bleeding out? Maybe our ghostliness is more of a blessing than I thought in this case, though without it, we wouldn't be affected by the forest's illness at all. Leaning over, I gently stroke the deer's head. Its breathing is restless and agonized, but it seems to register my presence. My thumb brushes against a wound that I didn't notice, and I jerk my hand back while Alma groans in pain.
I'm sorry.
The deer's blood is viscous, unnaturally so, and slick like motor oil. It sticks to my fingers, stretching and webbing. It's neither cold nor warm. It's unnervingly neutral. I try to rub it off in the snow, but my fingers pass through the ice and dirt, of course. My hand trembles with the disgust feeling that it'll never be clean again. Abigail is still beside herself, wringing her hands impotently. There's nothing that either of us can do. Just sit there and wait as Alma passes away in agony. But then, a tremor reverberates through the clearing. The ground shakes, and snow is rattled from the branches. Fairy baubles dance up and down. Abigail and I both face the forest in the direction of the sound, already knowing what's coming. The forest spirit strides into view, as tall as the trees, but no taller. It brushes past trees with no notice of the branches and snow that it disturbs. Okay, I'm a little confused here. Didn't Evelyn use Morgan to kill the forest spirit? I thought the forest spirit's supposed to be dead. But maybe... maybe it was just, the grove where the forest spirit comes from? I'm not really sure. Either way, it doesn't seem very dead, so I'm okay with that. As it draws into the clearing, it acknowledges us with a level gaze. It's been a while since Abigail and I have been by to see it. Yawn. The deer looks up at the forest spirit with pained recognition, its eyes wide and breathing shallow with pathetic relief. Abigail looks up at it too, tearfully, clearly glad to see it. The spirit looms closer, its great presence alone seeming to revitalize the air around us. My headache vanishes in an instant. The spirit stretches out one immense finger, drawing from head to tail across the deer's mangled body. The two lock eyes, and as the spirit retracts its hands, it curls the fingers inward, calling Alma to it. In one motion, the deer's eyes roll backwards as life exits its body. At the same time, its spectral form, ephemeral and perfect, rises from its corpse. Boundless as in life, it gives us one last glance, and then it springs across the fallen snow before vanishing into thin air, gone to join some spectral herd somewhere. Abby wipes her eyes of tears and stands. She moves to the spirit's side and gently pats it.
Thank you. I'm glad you came.
The spirit's shoulders sag, its branches hanging low and still despite the slight breeze. I notice what looks like a burn mark on its hide, where parts of its wooden skin is blackened and dark. Without a doubt, it's Evelyn's doing as well. I'm reminded of an old man putting a child to rest. Sorrow, and surely pain as well, weigh heavily on it. I wonder how it knew to come. Did it feel Alma's pain? Or perhaps Abigail's? Bearing the emotional weight of an entire ecosystem, my heart aches for the spirit, as well as for Abigail, who seems forever hurt by her powerlessness. The spirit and I meet eyes again, and I bow my head in reverence. I don't know it well enough to speak to it like Abigail, but for Alma's sake, I am also glad it's here. It stoops down and picks up the deer's corpse. Blood now runs freely from the injuries, somehow not clotting, and I have to look away. Without a second thought for us, the spirit turns and leaves once more, going back the way it came. Abigail and I watch it go. In all, the encounter couldn't have lasted more than a minute or two. Long after the last of its footfalls have faded away, Abigail and I sit in silence. I hold her close until finally we return to the church. The rest of the day passes quietly, the earlier euphoria of our relationship being overshadowed by fear of the shifting forest. Though Abigail is never more than an arm's reach away from me, and usually closer, she's nearly silent. Our headaches returned not longer after leaving the fairy clearing, stronger than before. Now, some combination of pain and sorrow keeps us both quiet. At some point, I reach for her hand out of habit. And that's when it happens. My hand passes right through hers, as if she isn't even there.
Abigail!
I say the first thing that comes to mind. With a fright, she leaps up, searching around for the source of my panic. Seems she didn't even feel it.
Look!
I reach for her hand, and once again, it passes right through her. Just like when we first met, before we could even speak with each other. She understands instantly.
Oh no. Oh no, no.
What's happening? Are you okay? Do you feel any different?
I don't know enough about magic to even start to guess why this might be happening to her.
Should we take you to the forest spirit? Or get you some rest? Or...
Madison, it's not me.
What?
It's you.
I look down at myself. Sure enough, my whole body is slightly transparent. I can see the floor of the church through myself. Vertigo hits me and I stumble. Abigail lurches forward to catch me, but of course she isn't able to. Dread fills my heart. Please, no. Not again.
What do I do?
I slap my hand, a pathetically ridiculous action. I can't even feel it. My own hand goes right through me. Shaky, Abigail stands up, holding her head.
Something's happening to the forest. This must all be connected somehow. It's simply impossible otherwise.
What could Evelyn be doing?
I know that she has to be involved. I don't even have to ask.
I have no idea. Nor do I know why she's choosing now of all times to do it.
Do you think the forest spirit can help us?
The forest spirit is all I can think of. The only ally that we have. At least it's a powerful one. Abigail looks away. I'm sure the spirit was her first thought too.
Perhaps we can try.
Wordlessly, she heads out the church and I follow her. The happiness and joy that we shared so recently has evaporated entirely. I wish that life, whatever form it takes for us, could just slow down, that we could have more than a moment to rest. But I know that that's impossible while Evelyn is still out there. And I know that one way or another, we're going to have to be the ones to deal with her. But what I don't know is if we even have a chance.
Do you know what's going on? Has something like this happened to you before?
It hasn't. This is the first I've seen of it. But I think I know. I think that the forest is having trouble keeping you here. The magic is getting weaker too.
So does that mean that...
I leave the implication unspoken. Abigail halts in her tracks, facing me with a fiery determination.
No, I won't let anything bad happen to you. Not again. I promise, Madison.
I don't know if she has the power to keep that promise, but I can only hope so.
Okay, I trust you.
I really do. Believing in Abigail is my only option. But even if it weren't, it's like she said, together, we can get through anything. I try not to think of what it would mean if I'm wrong. I'm not even totally sure myself. Would I just cease to exist? Go on to an afterlife? Something else? None of these options are especially appealing, and I know that dwelling on them will only make me feel worse. So, I just focus on the here and now, and on sticking close to Abigail. Even I can tell that she's right when she says the whole forest is affected. Aside from the harsh winds, everything else feels subdued somehow. The trees don't seem to stand at all. Don't seem to stand as tall, and the leaves and needles look dull, even by wintry standards. What little sunlight there is feels dreary rather than bright. A light snow falls from the sky, but the heavy clouds overhead promise more, and soon. It occurs to me that we've been walking longer than we normally have to. Instead of changing the forest path to get us there quickly, we're following the regular route through the trees.
Hey, why aren't we taking the shortcut through the forest? Is it too sick to let us do that?
Wringing her hands, Abigail looks away.
It's more that I'm afraid to try. If I push myself too hard, then...
She leaves the consequences unspoken. I can imagine what they might be. The same as what's happening to me, or worse. Whatever exactly that is.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's okay. Take as much time as you need.
It's been so long since I visited the spirit. Our brief moment in the grove with Alma was the first time in days. I wonder if it's missed me.
Of course it has. Who wouldn't?
You're far too sweet, Madison.
She nuzzles her head against me. The angle is a little awkward since we're still walking, but it's nice. But then she jerks away like she was stung.
Oh, you're back.
Back?
Her hand envelops mine, smooth and soft like always, rather than passing through me.
Oh!
Just because she can, she leans forward and gives me a quick peck on the lips.
I was so worried.
Me too.
I rub my arms and sides, making sure that I'm all there. Everything seems to be in order.
Hopefully it's permanent.
Indeed. It's not too much farther to the spirit either. We should hurry.
Sweat makes her brow glisten a little. She's definitely still feeling strained, even though I can tell she's trying to hide it.
Don't push yourself too hard, sweetie.
I won't.
Still, despite her words, the longer we walk, the more visible a toll it seems to take on her. Her steps slow down, even though she wants to hurry, and her breathing sounds labored.
Are you sure you're alright?
I'm fine. It's just...
Rubbing her eyes, she shakes her head. Right then, a pile of snow hits the ground a few feet away from us. Looking up, I spot a tree drooping, its boughs angled down as if bent.
It's the forest again. Not me alone.
She voices what I already knew.
Something terrible must have happened for it to be this way.
Since I am unable to feel the force like she can, all I can do is watch and worry.
Just now? Or at least today?
Maybe. Or we may only now be feeling the effects. I'm not sure.
I can tell by the frustration in her voice that she's nearly as in the dark about all of this as I am. I have to remind myself that what she knows, she's only picked up by intuition and years of observation. Lachesis, thank you for the raid. Hello. Let me give you a shout out. You were playing Hades 2, nice. I was playing Hades 1 earlier myself. Hello everyone, I am Haru Hayes, a Puppet Girl VTuber, and we're playing Heart of the Woods, the only visual novel that has ever gotten me to play it. And, oh my god, is it quite a journey. Things are looking pretty grim right now. But how's your stream? How was Hades 2? It's very gay, and also one of the characters is trans. Definitely recommend it. It's also half off right now on the Steam Summer Sale, so if you're interested in Heart of the Woods, you can pick it up for like $8. It was alright? Nice. Very cool, very cool. Well, welcome everyone, and I hope you enjoy this story as we continue into it. Peach Milkshake, thank you for the follow. I'm fortunate to have a guide as knowledgeable as she is about our situation, even if she doesn't know everything. I know when we're getting close to the grove of ancestral trees, from the change in the air and the way that the trees are larger than before. That profound sense of being watched and of primal energy is still present, but even that feels mellower. Or maybe strained. Through everything, there's also the acrid smell of smoke. Suddenly, Abigail lets out a yelp of horror and dashes forward.
Abigail!
I follow, right on her heels.
Oh no.
It doesn't take long to discover what she found. Where once there was a mighty tree, all that remains is a blistering, charred husk, blackened by flames. A painful buzzing penetrates my head, nearly unbearable, and all I can do is watch in horror as a foreign sorrow emanates. Even I can tell that this is the forest crying out. Here, at the locus of its pain, even I'm affected. I can't imagine how Abigail must feel. Her fingers run across the damaged wood as if searching for a sign of life. I have to remember that this isn't just another part of the forest. This is its heart, its very soul. And for so long, it was also her home.
How did I not know? I've been so happy these few days that I must have blinded myself to the pain of the forest.
From behind, I wrap my arms around her, pressing my face against her shoulder.
I'm sorry. It's not your fault, though. Even if you knew, you couldn't have changed it. If anything, we were lucky to have those few days.
She clings to me, pinioning my arms into an even tighter embrace. As I feel her cry against me, my own uselessness feels like more of a curse than death ever was. I wish there was some magic word or spell that I could use to make things better. But all I can do is hug her tightly and warmly, and hope that I'm as much of a reassurance for her as she is for me. Then, without warning, I once again see my arms go transparent, and the feeling of Abigail against me disappears. Although this time it's not as big a shock, it's still a reminder that we don't have long to wait. Abigail notices and steadies herself alone.
Let's keep going. The spirit must be around here too.
Why doesn't it stop Evelyn? Isn't that its job as guardian?
It probably can't. I'm sure it wants to, but it relies on the forest for strength. So if the forest is weak, then it must be too. In fact, that may be Evelyn's intention.
The sinking feeling in my stomach intensifies. If she's even stronger than the forest spirit, then what hope do we have? I don't voice that fear, though. I'm sure Abigail's already worried about the same thing. It isn't much longer before we encounter the spirit. At first, we almost miss it. The forest spirit stands idle in a clearing, as if lost in thought. It barely seems to notice us when we approach. The slight tilt of its head is the only acknowledgement we get. It's small. Smaller than I've seen it before. It's barely as tall as I am. The lights in its eyes, usually bright and terrifying, have gone dim. It looks more like the wounded deer from the clearing the other day than the being who helped it pass on. Just like the trees it protects, its branches sag and are bare. A few have jagged ends, as if something snapped them off. None of the wildlife that usually accompany it is around. Instead, it seems alone and abandoned. Though it hasn't been long since we saw it last, it looks significantly pained. I wonder if its salvation of Alma was taxing on it. Abigail cries out again, just like when we came across the burned tree. As anguished as she sounded then, this time it's even worse. I hang back as she runs to its side, not wanting to intrude on a private moment. She places a hand on its leg, crooning something that I can't make out, though the spirit tilts its head a little bit more to face her. Yawn. The motion is stilted and janky. As exhausted and sick as Abigail seems, the forest spirit seems to have it 10 times worse. It makes a mournful sound, a deep and sonorous hum. It seems to echo and reverberate off the trees around us. Though I can't understand it like Abigail can, the pain and suffering in its tone is obvious. Abigail presses a cheek against it, patting the creature gently, the same way she sometimes comforts me. I look down at myself, shimmery and transparent, and I'm pretty sure we won't be getting any assistance from the spirit. A wave of nausea hits me as I ponder just what that means. I don't have any backup plans. If Abigail does, she doesn't mention them. Is my only choice to just stay like this and hope my condition doesn't get any worse? Ever since I came here to the forest, it's felt like I haven't had any control over my own fate, and I can't help but worry that this will be the final nail in the coffin, perhaps literally. I fidget, adjusting my scarf and hood and glasses countless times. Abigail remains close to the spirit, pacing slow circles around it as she talks to it softly. I wonder what she's saying. Sometimes the spirit will hum, or make a gesture that could be a nod. All the while, I keep my respectful distance. At some point, I realize that it's snowing. I don't know how long it's been going on. As some of the snow settles on the spirit's broad shoulders, it doesn't look festive or pretty. It just looks pitiful. The spirit sags, bearing the weight of the world. I'm not sure how long I wait, but I don't rush Abigail at all. Yawn. This could be the last opportunity that she has to speak with the forest spirit, judging by its condition. I'm sure she's thinking the same thing. I flit between solid and intangible so many times that I stop keeping track. I just watch the two of them. Finally, Abigail pulls herself away from the spirit. She approaches me, looking like she wants to say something, but doesn't. Her eyes say it all, though. I try to hug her, but she softly shakes her head, and instead escorts me away, back into the woods. Though she never looks back, I do. But just once. The spirit's lonely eyes watch us go. Heavy snow batters us while we walk, though of course its chill doesn't reach us. Our visibility is effectively 0. Too weak to even alter the path of the forest, Abigail clings to my side, trusting me to lead us back to the church. Although I maintain a brave face, I'm not fully confident in my ability to get us there. The blizzard calls to mind memories of the day I died. Although I don't let myself dwell on them, I'm not alone this time, and I have something, someone, more to live for. Our journey is strenuous. We move at a glacial pace, but it's the fastest that Abigail can manage. Her steps are heavy and slow, and as much as I want to urge her along, I know that I can't. I'm glad that she's watching the ground and her feet rather than me, so that she doesn't have to see the worry on my face. Every time I start to think that I've got this whole ghost thing figured out, something new arises to complicate it all over again. And this time, I don't even have Abigail's experience to guide me. What happens if she loses the ability to walk altogether, or to speak? What happens if the magic that keeps me here runs out? The occasional flickering of my body makes that a very real concern right now. I hold tightly to her hand, the only anchor of comfort and security right now. But even that has grown clammy and cold. Swallowing a lump in my throat, we march on. Trees bow in the wind, trying to turn their backs against us. For the first time that I can remember, there aren't any woodland creatures out and about. No mice or rabbits, or chirping birds, not even a panicked deer phasing in and out of existence like me. It may as well just be me and her and no one else in the universe.
Come on, I'm sure we're almost there. It can't be much further.
I say the words for my own sake as much as for hers, though in truth I have no idea if I'm right or not. For all I know, we could be heading in the totally opposite direction of the church. Even then, once we arrive at the church, I'm not sure what to do. Will she get better with time to rest? Will I? Right now, the church is just a goal. It gives us something tangible to work towards. Something to keep our feet moving, slowly or not.
I'm sure you're right.
Her voice is barely a murmur. I can only hope that she's saving her energy on purpose. I'm afraid to ask. I wonder how much of what's happening is by the mayor's design. While everything stems from her, it's impossible to know how much was deliberate and how much was simply a ripple effect from what she's done. I wonder if she even considers us a threat, or gives us any thought at all. If she doesn't, then maybe we can use that against her. Of course, first, we have to reach a point where we can do that. During a momentary lapse in the blizzard, I'm able to make out a welcome site in the haze. A warped and curled tree that I distinctly remember from an earlier trip.
Look, you recognize that tree too, right? I'm pretty sure you were the one who showed it to me the first time. We're almost home.
Abigail nods weakly, though she doesn't say anything. I squeeze her hand, trying to impart some strength into her. It kills me to see her like this, and I'd give anything to be able to help her.
Almost there, you've got this.
She nods again, unable to do or say more. Except, she doesn't stop nodding like a bobblehead. I tug her along, trying to lead her the rest of the short way, but she's rooted to the spot.
Listen.
And then, she collapses. and the world goes black. I jolt and choke on nothing as I gasp for a breath that I don't actually need. Abigail has fallen to her knees. I didn't even feel her hand slip out of mine. I try to take the half step, but a moment later it's black. It takes me a moment to understand, and I immediately wish that I hadn't. Oh my god. I just stopped existing for a second. Profound dread grips my heart. Looking down at myself, once again, I can see right through my hand and arm to the snow accumulating beneath us. Not good. This is extremely not good. I collapse to the ground beside Abigail, but at least of my own accord. I try to shake her by the shoulder, but it takes several tries before I can even maintain a form long enough to even touch her.
I'm sorry, Medicine. I just need a little break.
With visible effort, she turns to look at me. I don't even think she realizes what's happening. But then I phase into non-existence for another moment, and when I come back, horror is etched clear on her face. Finding some hidden reserve of strength, she lunges towards me and grabs my hand. Immediately, everything goes back to normal.
Madison, are you okay? Can you hear me?
I'm fine now.
I hold her hands a bit tighter to reaffirm it.
Are you okay, though?
I'm just a little tired, is all.
She forces herself up again, looking more than a little tired. Immediately she sways and nearly falls, but I catch and steady her. She leans into me and I pull her into a hug.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Gently, I stroke her hair. In truth, I'm terrified, but I don't want her to see that. It'll only make things worse. I guide Abigail over to a fallen tree where we can sit down, indifferent to the blizzard. Even though the church isn't much farther, I don't want to push her too much right now. I wrap one arm around her as we sit, and I hold her close.
Where can we go for help? Maybe if the forest spirit sees how rough it is for us.
But she shakes her head.
Believe me, it would if it could. But I fear that it's even weaker than I am right now. It's much more in tune with the forest than me, so it's suffering the effects even more strongly.
All of this because Evelyn killed one tree?
It wasn't just any tree. It was one of the ancestral trees. The oldest one. They're the heart of the forest. All of its strength comes from them.
I can't pretend to understand their importance, but I know that Abigail isn't exaggerating. Not at a time like this.
So what do we do? There has to be some sort of solution, right? Can we plant another tree or something?
Even as I say it, I know the idea is ridiculous. We don't exactly have the centuries it would take for a new tree to grow up as big and strong as the one that was killed.
The forest spirit is supposed to become the next one. All of the ancestral trees were once spirits like the one you've met.
What's stopping it? The mayor?
Her hand clenches around my shoulder, where she was holding on tightly.
That's right. I hadn't even realized.
Realized what?
Groaning, Abigail sits up straight. So long as we're close like this, it seems like I'm able to maintain my physical form.
This spirit can't pass on its own. It needs the help of a fairy queen. That's one of her duties to the forest.
But there's no fairy queen right now.
Yes, which means that there's no one to complete the ritual.
The rest goes unspoken as we both come to the same realization. An awful one.
Madison.
I know. There aren't any other options, are there?
None that I know of.
I close my eyes and take a deep breath, heading off for the wave of fear that I know is coming.
I'm sorry, again.
It's okay. You don't need to apologize. Really.
And welcome to an ad break. Oh my gosh. I mean, we're definitely closer to the ending, but, yeah, there's a lot more to the story, apparently, that we still have yet to go through. Thank you for the stretch! Yeah, I mean, the mentioning of the fairies that Maddie could be their fairy queen definitely wasn't just thrown in there randomly. Like, 110% that was introduced as a crucial plot point. So yeah. I just hope Maddie... Well, I hope, one, Maddie is even able to become the fairy queen, because they'd have to relocate those fairies. Number two, I really hope that if Maddie's able to become fairy queen, that she and Abigail can still somehow be together. And number three, I just want everything to be okay. Like, for all of them, like... Maddie and Abigail especially, I want Morgan to finally be happy and be able to, like, breathe a sigh of relief after, like, Evelyn is dead and done with. And I want Tara to, like... I want her to get closure. Like, that's really the one thing Tara's been lacking right now with everything that's been happening is closure. Like, she doesn't have closure with Evelyn, she doesn't have closure with Maddie. She doesn't even have closure with her own show. Like, that's part of why she's been so resistant to Maddie leaving it, is because, like, she's afraid of having to move on to the next thing. So yeah, like, I just want everything to be okay for all of them. And I hope whatever decisions we made end up taking us in that direction. Because, oh my god. Well, welcome back from ads. Let's take a sip of water and let's get back to it. Okay.
But
Taking both her hands in my own, I turned to face her. Understanding, her eyes close halfway as her lips part to meet mine. Part of me wishes I could spend an eternity like this, together, warm, with the woman I love. But even that isn't an option anymore. Our kiss ends far too quickly, although I'm not sure it could have ever been enough. When we part, there are tears on Abigail's face, I'm not sure if they're mine or hers.
It'll be okay somehow. I know it.
I'll be with you, no matter what.
I know. Thank you. Seriously. I couldn't do this without you.
I love you.
I love you too.
As one, we turn and face the forest again, putting the church behind us. Resigning myself to what comes next, I point in the direction we need to go.
Let's go visit the fairies. I'm sure they're still looking for a new queen.
Once again, we reach the grove where the fairies nest. It occurs to me that this is the only part that seems unaffected by the forest's sickness. The trees are just as vibrant as ever, and the pond just as crystal clear. We stumble into the middle, near the shore of the pond. Abigail takes several woozy steps, and I hold her shoulder to keep her steady. Then I flicker, and she starts to fall, barely managing to keep her balance. Forget days or even hours to find another solution. We might not even have minutes.
Hello?
I call out, a bit surprised that none of the fairies have come to greet us. I watch the trees and listen for the buzz and flutter of wings. But it remains silent and still.
Hello? Fairies!
It feels a little absurd and on the nose, but I don't know what else to say. There's no response.
Please, we need your help!
I might as well be shouting into the void. There's not even a single rustle. I notice that the birds who used to nest in the bushes seem to have abandoned this place. Tendrils of fear creep through me. What if the fairies are gone too?
Madison,
I turn towards Abigail, but she's not even looking at me.
Madison.
She just murmurs my name over and over. I steel myself and face forward, for her.
If you can help us, I'll find you a queen. Even if it has to be me.
My voice sounds stronger than I feel. There's no reaction. My heart pounds, feeling like it's going to burst out my chest. Seconds pass. Nothing. Beside me, Abigail has fallen silent, swaying on her feet, but looking as if she might collapse. All of her trust and hope have been placed in me. I can't let her down. I won't let her down. Just as I gather breath to yell out again, I start to hear a faint buzzing sound deep in the trees. Something flickers far away, but getting closer. I realize it's many somethings. Tiny lights spark to life, woven throughout and across the trees like Christmas lights. Those and the growing buzzing herald the arrival of the fairies. They burst from the trees as a swarm, nearly enough to darken the sky overhead. Like before, 3 break apart from the rest and swoop towards us. I recognize them as the 3 that I spoke to before, the ones I named Hey, Anon, and Frio.
You're back! To be queen? We've been waiting.
They watch inquisitively while the rest of the swarm hovers overhead. It isn't what I want. I still barely know what being a queen would entail, much less a fairy queen. All I have is one short vision. But it's not like I have time to research or to learn. There's not time for anything else. It's this, or disappear forever, and leave Abigail to whatever fate she's suffering. Of course, that's not an option I'm even willing to consider. I put on the sternest face I can and lock eyes with the fairy in the middle.
Only if you can help us.
Wordlessly, the three fairies dart forward, inspecting Abigail and me. They communicate silently with each other, leaving me to wonder what they're saying and thinking. A minute later, they return to their position in front of my face.
Name your terms. But are you sure? We think we know.
If you make us human again, and stop whatever it is that's happening to us, then I'll make sure you have a queen, whether it's me or someone else.
A queen! Who else could it be? We've spent so long looking. There's not much time left! For you or for us!
Wait, what do you mean? What are you running out of time for?
She'll make her move! Haven't you seen? The moonsick one.
Moonsick. There's that word again.
Moonsick one. You mean Evelyn?
Evelyn. A human name. It must be her.
I don't fully follow, but there's no one else there they could be referring to. There's so much that I want to ask, but can't right now.
How long do we have?
Until the moon is at its brightest. That's when she's strongest. Will you be ready then?
I'll have to be.
I haven't been paying much attention to the moon, but I know that it can't be more than a week until it's full. Probably less. I really wish I had Terra's stupid shirts to use as a reference right now. Oh my god. Terra? Wait. Hang on. I noticed Terra's shirts had moons on them. I did not notice that they actually change phases. Oh my god, that's kinda really cool. Wow, okay. Terra. In all of this, I haven't even really been considering that by becoming human again, not just a ghost, I'll be able to see her. That's at least one big upside, although I don't know where we'll even begin to catch up. Still, that's something else to be figured out later. Facing the fairies, I nod.
Okay.
We can start preparing. Are you ready? It won't take long.
Yeah. I just need a moment to get ready too.
The fairies flit off and rejoin the rest of their kind, not bothering to respond. That's fine by me. I turn back to Abigail, who's been silent throughout the entire thing. At first, I thought maybe she'd pass out, but instead, she's watching me with anxious eyes.
Medicine, are you sure?
Softly, she leans against me. Well, she kind of falls.
Yes, I'm sure.
The fairies have all gathered near the pond, close to one of the trees. They watch us intently, ruining the chance of any private moment. Also, is it just me? No, it is not just me. Abigail is actually kind of transparent right now. Like, not quite as much as Maddie was a few times, but there's definitely... she's losing a little bit of opacity. I kiss Abigail's cheek and feel her nuzzle against me for just a moment.
I love you, Madison.
She says it with more strength than she's been able to muster so far.
I love you too.
We look into each other's eyes for one last moment. Then I turn and stride towards the fairies. I don't let myself look down. I don't let my hands shake. I keep my steps measured and even. I only glance back once to where Abigail is watching me. Then Hay, Frio, and Anon descend once more. Frio loosely grips a crown of woven flowers and leaves, as out of season as the rest of the grove. I would say that it doesn't feel real, but to tell the truth, it's been a long time since anything has.
Is it time? We hope it is. Just put this on.
That's it. All I have to do is put on the crown?
That's all for you. Is that too much? We'll do the rest.
Okay. Frio hands me the crown. I let it rest on my palms. It's light, barely noticeable. The flowers are all woven together so deftly that I have to wonder if it was made by magic. It's also slightly warm, like it had just been sitting in the sun for a while. I swallow the lump in my throat. This is what's best for everyone. Not just for me or Abigail, but for the whole forest. With one swift motion, I reach up and place the crown on my head. It fits perfectly, as if it was made for me. I wonder if it was. The moment it touches my hair, the fairies start to move. They chatter out loud, but there are so many of them speaking that it's impossible to hear what they're saying. I don't even know if they're human words. Altogether, they sound like a forest of rustling leaves. I shut my eyes as I feel a tingling sensation. It starts at the top of my head and slowly works its way through me. It's not uncomfortable at all, but it also isn't anything ignorable. Something soft brushes against my face and hands. It feels like snow, but isn't cold. And when it melts away, there's no trace of wetness left behind. An invisible force feels like it's tugging me in every direction at once, but I stay rooted to the spot. A light scent of pine fills my nose. Somehow, it's nostalgic.
As Maddie is crowned the Fairy Queen, with her outfit changing to match her new role, her simple jacket changes into a long, frilly green dress with white lace decorated with blooming flowers. She's gorgeous. I want to be a Fairy Queen.
I open my eyes, still in the middle of my metamorphosis. Warmth spreads through my body like a hot cup of coffee, and with it comes understanding of the forest and how I'm a part of it. I'm acutely aware of its existence, tuned to its precise frequency. I imagine this must be what Abigail meant by being connected. Memories that aren't mine start to run through my head. A movie that I can't shut off. Visions of trees sprouting from the earth and growing skyward, and of clouds forming and then falling apart. Each denizen of the forest, every tree, every deer, even the forest spirit itself, come to mind at once, feeling like old friends I haven't seen in a while. None of it feels new. It's not intrusive or foreign. Rather, this knowledge feels like something that's always been there, but without my awareness. Or maybe something I'd forgotten. It's comfortable. And still the fairies dance overhead, their rustling chants even louder as they perform their ritual. I wonder if all fairy queens are inaugurated this way. And at the same moment I wonder, I know instinctively that they aren't. Visions of a beautiful woman whom I immediately recognize as the missing fairy queen come to mind. And with her comes a longing, a feeling of something missing. Then as my thoughts turn, the vision and the longing are gone too. I can feel the rustle of cloth against my skin as even my clothes acknowledge the changes, taking on a life and form of their own.
She's beautiful. Like, oh my god, I love her aesthetic and just... I'm envious. I want to be her.
They lengthen and stretch and puff out, becoming a dress more elaborate and beautiful than anything I've ever worn before. Living, breathing flowers bloom from its hem right before my eyes, matching the crown on my head. I feel the magic work its way through, over, and around me, enveloping tightly. And then, as the ceremony comes close to an end, I start to feel it drain out of me. It seeps down and out, and back into the earth and air, returning to the forest that lent me its strength and trust to take on this role. As I heave a deep breath, the enormity of the responsibility that's been placed on me feels heavy, but not unbearably so. If anything, I'm reassured by the competence and power that I can simply feel that I have. I'm not invincible. I know that much. But for the first time in ages, I feel like I'm in control. I stumbled, just a little bit, as my feet touched the ground that I never knew I'd left. The instant that I do, the last of the shifting magic leaves me, although I can still feel it as part of the forest. Without anyone saying anything, without any confirmation, I simply know. It's done. I've become the Fairy Queen.
Oh my god. My god. Like, what? I don't, like, I don't even have any words. Like, how do I describe what I just felt? Honestly, it felt magical. Like, genuinely. Wow. My first steps as Fairy Queen are shaky. At any moment, it feels like my legs might give out from under me. Yet, at the same time, I feel a strange sort of confidence and inner strength. I don't know if magic literally courses through my veins or not, but it feels that way. My next few steps as Fairy Queen are easier. I keep my gaze fixed on Abigail as I make my way towards her. She waits impatiently, concern clearly etched on her face. The fairies buzz agitatedly over my head, darting and dashing in pointless patterns. Though they don't vocalize anything, I can hear their voices clearly in my head.
Our queen! Welcome home. How does it feel?
I acknowledge their words, and at the same time, I can feel myself be acknowledged. It comes as naturally as breathing. I promise that I'll get to them in a moment.
Madison, are you alright?
She clings to my side, her slender arms tight around me. Though I'm not shaking anymore, her presence is still infinitely reassuring. I press my lips to her head, and we sway gently back and forth. I can feel her too, as a part of the forest. Her presence is as warm and comforting in my head as in my arms.
I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
She makes a sound that I think is a gasp, but that I soon realize is a sob. Abigail cries against my shoulder, her arms tightening like a vice. I don't ever want to let her go. I hold her as tightly as I can while her body is racked with sobs. Her breath and tears are warm, almost painfully hot. The thin layer of my new outfit does little to inhibit them. The thin lace of my new outfit.
I'm so sorry that all of this is happening. I'm sorry.
Gently, I find her hands and take them in mine. I squeeze them, trying to impart the same kind of solace that she gives to me.
It's okay. Really. I'm happy things turned out this way. I'm glad that I met you, no matter the circumstances.
Her cries get stronger, and I drop one of the hands in order to brush her hair back from her tear-stained face. We hold each other tightly until she is able to calm down. Meanwhile, the fairies still continue to circle overhead, although they remain respectfully silent. Finally, Abigail heaves a steady breath and steps back just a little bit.
I'm sorry again. It was just that seeing you there with the fairy light. I mean, you looked beautiful. You still do. More than beautiful. But it made me again realize everything that you've gone through. Everything I've put you through.
I press a finger to her lips. She looks up at me, surprise replacing the sadness.
It's okay. I'd go through all of it again to end up here with you. I mean it.
Abigail sniffles heavily, and I can tell that she's trying not to cry again.
You can make it up to me by getting out of all of this with me.
She nods.
That sounds more like a gift to me than the other way around. But I'll keep being selfish and take it.
Good. I want you to be selfish.
We kiss quickly and briefly, then separate. I look up at the fairies above me, who are glad to be noticed again.
Thank you for saving me like this. I owe you my life.
Somehow, I've ended up owing my life to way more people than I ever expected to.
You have 3 days to keep it. That's right! You're running out of time! We can't wait much longer!
I know. I'll find a queen for you.
I know that it won't be as easy as I make it sound. After meeting some of the Eisenfeld locals, I don't get the impression that any of them would be interested in the offer. Still, I have 3 days to figure it out.
We'll be waiting. We know we'll see you again. With a new queen or not.
The ritual finished, the fairies quickly dispersed back into the trees. I'm glad there's no more ceremony or ritual to go along with my transformation. Alone with Abigail once more, I head to the shore of the pond so I can finally get a full glimpse of myself. I can barely recognize my own reflection. The girl staring back at me from beneath the water looks much more suited to the position of queen than I expected. She looks calm and confident, like she's unafraid of whatever happens next. I hope I'm not just fooling myself. I turn this way and that, admiring my new outfit. Atop my head, the flower crown that the fairies gave me fits comfortably. I wonder if it's meant to tempt me into staying. Abigail moves closer, peering into the water with me. Our reflection next to each other serve as a visible reminder as to why I can't stay. As comfortable and satisfying as this newfound gift is, I have no desire to keep it at the cost of our freedom. I'll get us out of this.
Are you ready to go?
I am.
Okay. First things first, we need to get in touch with Morgan and Tara. They probably know more about the mayor than we do.
It'll also set my mind at ease a lot. There's so much that I need to say to Tara. Even if I spent all 3 of our days just talking with her, that still wouldn't be enough time.
How will we do that? Going into the village would be far too dangerous.
We don't have to. We just have to get to the cabin.
I flex my fingers, still acutely aware of the magical tingling.
And that's easy like this.
Abigail runs her fingers over mine, her skin angelically soft like always.
All right. I trust you.
I curl my fingers, squeezing her hand again.
Thank you. Speaking of which, there's something I think we should do.
I pause a moment while she waits expectantly. Much like the way my coronation just ended, what I'm about to say seems unceremonious.
I think I can return us to the physical plane, too. Both of us.
It takes a second for the implication to sink in before Abigail's eyes grow wide as saucers.
Madison! Are you sure?
Her hand clutches her heart.
Yeah. I can't explain how I know, but I just do. There's a lot of stuff that I can do now. But that way, you'll be able to talk with Morgan and Tara too. And I know that we'll need all the help we can get at the end.
I keep banishing thoughts of what that end will be, because there's only one way this can end, putting a stop to Evelyn once and for all. I don't need that weighing on my mind along with everything else right now.
I understand. You know that I wouldn't just abandon you, Madison.
I know.
Abigail takes a deep breath, steadying herself.
Okay, I'm ready.
Silently, I step forward, taking her other hand in mine as well. I close my eyes and bow my head, and I feel her do the same. I can feel the magic course through me and out of me, spreading like vines from my fingers. It affects both me and her, taking our very forms and rebinding them to the mortal world where they belong. I can feel Abigail tense up and hear her breathing getting shallow. Still, I keep my eyes closed, willing the magic to continue working. It obeys my whims effortlessly. And then, after a minute that feels like an hour, the flow of magic slows and then stops. I open my eyes. Abigail is still there, her hands warm in mine. Her eyes slowly open as well, meeting mine. This close together, I can feel her breath warm against my face.
How do you feel?
A light breeze blows through. For the first time in 200 years, Abigail's gown sways in the wind.
It's cold.
She says and laughs, pressing herself even more tightly against me. Abigail shivers, her teeth begin chattering within seconds of her transformation. Despite how poofy it is, her gown really isn't very warm at all. Fortunately, the chill doesn't bother me. It wouldn't make sense for a fairy queen to be susceptible to the cold. But taking care of Abigail is a pressing matter.
Let's go to the cabin. I can get us there quickly.
She just nods, wrapping her arms tightly around herself. I hug her tightly as well, and access the magic once more. This time, I'll use it to transport us across the forest, to its very boundary where the cabin is. And where my powers stop being useful. Since the cabin and the village are technically outside the bounds of the forest, once I step past the trees, I'll just be a regular ghost again. At least until I go back into the forest. So, I can't get too far away. If Evelyn were to find out where we are, or make some move against us, I'd be powerless to stop her. Better to not even give her that opportunity. Still, the transportation is smooth. It doesn't even feel like we move. Instead, we close our eyes in the fairy clearing, and we open them again. The cabin is just in front of us. Seeing it again strikes a pang in my heart. It feels like forever ago. I guess technically, it was a lifetime ago. There's no time to get sentimental though. Not when Abigail's like this. Instead, we hurry to the front door. Miraculously, the door is unlocked. I guess Morgan and Tara had more important things to worry about than locking up last time they were here. We rush inside and I turn on both the lights and the heater. As warm air cranks out, Abigail's relief is palpable and immediate. She settles down onto one of the chairs, comfiness outweighing even her curiosity for just a moment.
Better?
Much.
She luxuriates in the feeling, eyes closed in bliss. Her fingers absent-mindedly scrape the soft cushions of the couch while she presses her back into it.
It's so soft.
Then she leaps to her feet, zooming towards the kitchen. She drags her fingers along every different surface as she goes, stopping to examine most of them. She rubs the edge of the counter.
Madison, it's so smooth and cold.
At the sink, she examines the faucets intently before spinning one of them. Cold water pours out over her hands, and she yelps in shock but quickly grins.
Madison, it's like a river.
Then she reaches the heater, which is pretty much keeping her alive right now. Like a cat, she basks in front of it, relishing the warmth. Each sensation seems to bring her immeasurable joy. For me, it had been a couple weeks. For Abigail, it had been 200 years without feeling warmth, or cold, or textures. I watched fondly. I wish we had more time to enjoy ourselves, more time to show her modern things like films. I remind myself that I can't think like that. We just don't have the time yet. We just have to get through this. Then we'll have all the time in the world.
I'm going to get you some warmer clothes. I'll be right back.
All right.
She's still plopped in front of the heater, closer than I would have thought is comfortable. Smiling, I head into what had once been my bedroom. It's been rearranged a bit. My suitcase has been shoved to one corner, forgotten. My laptop sits atop my bed, although most of the video gear is missing. Tara and Morgan must have taken it with them when they left. Good thinking. I start booting up my laptop while I roll the suitcase to my bed and start sifting through my clothes. After everything I've been through, the actions feel so mundane that I have to give myself a second to just let it all sink in. Everything's been moving so fast that night Abigail and I kissed by the water. There's hardly been a chance to breathe. Still, being back on familiar territory with familiar comforts is reassuring. It makes me feel like a human again. Something as simple as being able to push a button on my computer and watch it respond is a little miracle that I don't think I'll take for granted again. Getting used to the necessities of normal life, like eating and sleeping, will definitely take some time though. Same with keeping warm. Unfortunately for Abigail, my clothes are the only option she has. They won't fit her as well, but they should be better than the nightgown she's been wearing for so long. I complete the outfit with a cute hat. I hope she likes it.
Here you go. They're not the best fit, but they should at least keep you warm.
Abigail hurries over and reverently takes the bundle from me.
Are these your clothes?
Yeah, they are. I hope that's okay.
She holds the bundle to her chest.
I'll treasure them.
I show her to the bathroom and also explain how everything works. I have to admire her restraint in just accepting everything modern in stride. Oh my god, everyone's getting a makeover! Everyone gets an outfit change! Girlfriend clothes! Aww. She's so cute. It isn't too long before she emerges once again. She holds her arms wide, the cloth hanging a little loosely from her in parts, but she's smiling.
How do I look?
Gorgeous.
That's the word I managed to stammer out, though there's a whole slew of them that would work. Call me biased, but I think my clothes look better on her than on me. Giggling, she does a slow spin, showing off more. Spinny skirt.
The person who chose them has wonderful taste.
Abigail gets comfortable in the living room while I grab my laptop from the bed. I sit down beside her, yawn. I sit down beside her, turning it so she can see.
This is a computer. It can do a ton of things, but it also lets people talk via long distances.
And that's how you're going to contact Tara?
Right.
Abigail watches with rapt attention as I open a browser and wait for the painfully slow internet to load my email.
There are so many different pictures and words. Don't you ever lose track of where you are?
Not really. You get used to it.
Surely you're being modest. I imagine very few people could operate one of these.
I love her. Aww.
I wish. But really, most people have one of their own. Or even more than one. They're a really common part of everyday life.
I see. In that case, you'll have to teach me.
Definitely. For now, though, I'm going to send that message.
How will it be transported?
It's,
I try to think of how to explain this. Then I realize that I have the perfect analogy.
You know how the forest is all totally connected? Like, how you can sense all the different parts of it?
Abigail nods, and slowly her face gets pale.
Medicine. Don't tell me that modern people are connected in the same way.
I can't help it. I burst out laughing. Indignantly, she waits for me to finish. It takes me past the point of having tears in my eyes before I do.
I can see that I was wrong.
She pretends to pout, though I can see in her eyes that she's just playing.
I'm sorry. It's just that you look so horrified.
She laughs too.
Well, imagine how I feel. Apparently nothing is impossible anymore, so I simply have to assume the worst.
She snuggles against me, pressing her cheek against my shoulder to show that she's only pretending to be upset.
So, go on, do explain it then.
It's not the people who are connected, but the machines. If you have a computer, you can send a message instantly to any other computer in the world. It's more complicated than that, but that's the easy way to put it.
I see. So you're going to send a message to Tara's computer.
Right. I'm going to tell her to come and meet us here. I hope she'll believe it's me.
I'm sure that she'll know, somehow.
I nod, entering Tara's email address into the field. I leave the subject line blank. Anything I could put there would feel comical. I don't really know how to word the rest of the message, so I don't think about it. I just put my fingers to the keys and start to type. Dear Tara, I know this is going to sound kind of hard to believe. And I think that is a good place for us to stop. we're coming very close to the end here. I can feel it. Finally, the two parallel lives are getting pushed back together. Or two parallel stories, I mean. And we only have 3 days until the full moon. So, I think next time we'll probably finish it. I'm gonna try for tomorrow, though I can't, guarantee. I do have to do a lot of setting up for something very important, which is Sunday, the Vtuber Summer Slam. I will be hosting Mario Party 3 with myself and Pi and Minra will be guests on my channel, and we'll be raising money for Gamers Outreach. But yeah, so that's going to be at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. I hope you all look forward to it. Ah, yes, and the crowd control will be chaotic. Yes, this will be my first time using crowd control, and that's also one of the things that I'm going to have to set up in the next few days. So anyway, be sure to join my Discord, where you can, hang out with me and talk to me and stuff. I'm pretty active there. You can also, find all my other links, follow all my socials. I'm on Blue Sky. I need to get back on to using Blue Sky, but I'm on Blue Sky. And then, join the Vspire Discord. It's not just me. Vspire is myself, Pi, Minra, Pepper, Zach, and Kerbals, and we're Vspire. So, join the Vspire Discord, will you? And with all that said, let's see if we can't find someone to raid who is currently streaming. A lot of people are currently streaming. Let's see. I mean, it looks like Illith is doing SummerSlam Part 2, so you know what? We're just gonna go join Illith again. So yeah, we will go say hi to Illith, and yeah. So, here in chat is our raid message. There you go. Go ahead and copy and paste that, or type it in yourself when we get there. If you're subscribed to me, you can have access to the heart emote. Otherwise, there we go. Yeah, if you're subscribed to me, you can have access to the heart emote. Otherwise, if you don't want to subscribe, you can also unlock it with channel points. And with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Hopefully tomorrow, but I can't 100% guarantee it'll be tomorrow, but we'll see. Whenever I get around to it, we will continue this and see the ending, I guess. God, I love Heart of the Woods. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Bye-bye!